have a business use it as a way to interact more with their clients and potential clients. And so if they have someone on the show that's maybe a customer, it makes that customer feel happy, and improves that relationship. So there are a lot of different ways to get value out of being a podcaster. And I think just looking at ads is limited in scope. So I would recommend people really think about what they want to get out of it before they start. In some cases, people just want to entertain, right? They don't care about, they want to get as many people, they want to entertain as many people as they can. They don't care about making money from it. And in some ways, those people might end up having the most success, right? The most people listening to it, since that's their goal. And then they can monetize it through ads. But I do think too many people start their podcast thinking, oh, this is going to be a way to make a lot of money from ads. And then they'll end up disappointed. So I'd recommend really thinking through that before you start your show.
And I have to say that I like the advice that you shared with stating, know your goal. What is your goal when you create your podcast? Because monetizing may not be a part of that goal. So at the off start, when you're starting off, make sure that you're clear, as Andrew has said, what goals do you have in place for your podcast? And if monetization is that, just as he said, make sure that you're aligning yourself with sources and outlets that are substantial. So if you could, go ahead, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I'd like to point out the median number of downloads per episode for podcasts, all the podcasts out there, is fewer than 200. And so when you think about that, that's a small audience to attract an advertiser to. And so that's just kind of one thing to keep in mind when we look at the size of a typical podcast. And that's why I think about some of these other ways to get value out of being a host.
Absolutely. So if you could share with the listening audience, because you do have so many people in your community at podcastguest.com, what are some of your favorite podcast categories that you enjoy in your downtime to listen to?
Sure. I like comedy. And so one of my favorites is Mike Birbiglia's Working It Out, which is a show where he brings on other comedians. He started this when the pandemic hit and he was able to no longer hit the road and do shows. And so that's a fun one. I also like listening to entrepreneurial type podcasts that really give me ideas on how to grow a platform like podcastguest.com even more. I've gotten so many great ideas from listening to them. So typically when I listen to podcasts, since I don't commute, I'm working out or doing something around the house, that sort of thing. And so that I would say those kind of small business, online business type podcasts. And then when I'm looking for just entertainment, it's the comedy podcasts.
Wow, that's awesome. That's cool. Comedy. I'm gonna have to check that one out myself because I've never listened to a comedy podcast. So you've given me a nugget for a new avenue to listen into. So is there anything new coming up for you? Are you working on any new projects this year at all that you want to kind of give us a little bit of behind the scenes sneak peek about at all?
You know, a lot of what I do on podcastguest.com is kind of incremental stuff. And basically everything I've ever added to that is something that a user asked for. So I really like getting user feedback, like, hey, can you add this feature? Or it'd be a lot easier for me if I did something. One of the big changes we made, let's see, I guess that was late last year. So you as a podcaster, there are two ways to find guests through the platform. One is for us to feature your podcast in our newsletter and then people pitch to you. But the other is you can go into our directory where there are about 1,000 people. You can look for people by category or search and find ones that are a good fit for your show and invite them. So previously, every time you invited someone, you had to fill out this form with all your information. Here's your email address, link to your show, that sort of thing. So we added this feature where you could save that information and kind of create a podcaster account, which makes it a lot easier now to invite guests without having to repeat that information over and over. So that's something that's kind of simple, but has really helped a lot. We have a lot of podcasters, hundreds already in the past few months who have signed up for that type of account. And this is all free, by the way. So I would say that's kind of our big change lately. It's funny. I just right before this call, I got off the phone with my web developer going through a list of things that are mostly little things that have a big impact, but they aren't necessarily big features.
Wow, amazing. That's awesome. I'm proud of you. You guys are doing some great stuff, right? And that's the greatest thing about being a creative and in creating. You always have the ability to transform, to bring fresh perspectives into the dynamic. So we're almost getting ready to close. I ask every guest, this is a part of why Sean Inspires is created. I would like for you to close out the platform here, our show today, with sharing a word of inspiration or encouragement for the listening audience, and even for those who may, want to become podcasters. If you could share a word of inspiration or encouragement with them, Andrew, I think that would be awesome. You have the floor.
So I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, which is perfection can be the enemy of progress. If you're thinking about doing something, just get it out there. We use this word, the minimum viable product, which is just kind of getting something out there, seeing what the community reaction is, and then building off of it. And that's essentially the story of podcastguest.com, which was I got it out there, waited for the feedback, and then built off of that. So get your idea out there, get it into the universe, start collecting feedback rather than trying to design everything perfectly and never getting it off the ground.
Wow, amazing. I love that. Absolutely, absolutely awesome. Andrew, thank you so much. If you could, before we close the segment, share with the audience how they may connect with you, how they may follow you, partner with podcastguest.com. If you could go ahead and share that information.
Sure. So the best thing to do is to just sign up at podcastguest.com. It's completely free. And then you'll have my email address once you sign up, and you can reply to any of the emails, and that'll come directly to me.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for sharing and being a guest on Sean Inspires podcast. Thank you, everyone that have taken time out of their schedules to tune in to the Sean Inspires podcast. Do go ahead and share it with your community and download it. Always, and I always say this and share this, be strong and stay inspired. Until next time, bye now.